Silver Defender. From all your time working in model making, what was the biggest mistake you made, which in turn provided the biggest learning curve? I don't, yeah, okay. So it's 2002, early 2002. The San Francisco ballpark is opening up, the new Pac Bell Park. It really should have been called Mays Field. It should still be called Mays Field. At any rate, Pac Bell Park was opening up, and a local storefront wanted a mechanical device. They wanted a baseball to go over a fence constantly in the window display. And by the time the job came to me, they needed it to be executed within 10 days. And apparently all the other places like Acme Scenery and other shops here in San Francisco had turned this job down or sent it packing. And it came to me, and I took the job, and I probably should have weighed how many people had turned this job down before taking it, because actually the learning curve I had on that was a lot of mechanical stuff. Right, so I built a catcher for the ball out of four-way stretch fabric so that it would silently bounce down to a hole. And then I had a PVC pipe, and that's when I learned that you can't transport balls through pipes, because as they go through a pipe, they go like this, and they can build oscillations that slow them down, and another one can come and hit it, and then they're all bunched up and everything. That's why whenever you see Rube Goldberg machines that are using balls, they use two rails, and the ball rolls on the rails, and the rails mean there's none of that oscillation. I learned that. And then once I finally, and then I needed a timer that brought the ball down to the end of this thing that would release it so it would go where it could get tossed. And it was getting tossed by a pitching machine. And I found these beautiful little timers, these Dayton timers you can buy through Grainger that you can set. Basically, it's a relay in which you can set its reaction time from anywhere from like 50 milliseconds, 1/20th of a second, up to 20 seconds. A fabulous spread. And so I had this thing where it would go dunk, tick, 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 drop, boom, and toss this ball. And it worked. It worked a lot. It worked for the first 150 tosses, which is fantastic. One every 4 seconds. So it's like 3 minutes. And then it failed. Then one of the balls did not get to its target, went too far, or didn't go far enough. One of those reasons. And I spent another 3 days without sleeping, attempting to solve this specific problem, that I was getting 150 to 200 tosses at a time, perfect, every single one. And the machine was just like clockwork. But I couldn't get past 200 tosses, or about 5 minutes of operation, without it failing. I realized this was higher than a 99% accuracy rate, and it was going to screw me totally. Yeah, it was a dark time. I have told this story in a longer format in the past, and I've had to learn when I tell the story in front of crowds to actually include some jokes, because the story is much longer and the job gets darker and I screw it up royally. And the learning curve, the biggest learning curve was I didn't ask enough questions about how hard this job would be at the front. It's so funny. Someone really close to me just had some difficulty at work, and they were a young person, and they were asking me about whether or not they should leave the job. And I said, I can't answer that, but I can say that just considering whether or not to leave a job has often led to some of the most important decisions in my life. And in this case, you have a freelance job. It's one I shouldn't have taken. Don't get me wrong. I took that job. I screwed it up. I didn't deliver what they asked for, but the day that they asked for it, I said, I can come back in 6 hours with a plan B, and here's what it would do. And they said, great. I went home, I executed plan B, brought it back, installed it, and they were like, that doesn't thrill us. And so then I spent some time in my head thinking how much I would take off the cost of this job. They needed it in 10 days when they hired me. It was a rush job. I billed accordingly. My bill was large. It was in the low 5 figures. And I was thinking, all right, so I didn't deliver what they asked me to deliver. I delivered a plan B that they didn't like. Are they gonna ask this for free? Are they gonna ask not to pay for this? I would say that I earned earned like half of this. I would take maybe half off if they really fought it, but I'd rather like just give them a 30% discount. So I went to the people that hired me and I was about to offer a 30% discount when they said, do you want to check now or can we just wire it to your house, wire it to your bank account? And they paid me in full, reader. Yeah, I didn't expect that, which was amazing. And I bought my very first new laptop. I feel like it's just a rite of passage. It's the first time you're not using a laptop that someone has given you, a hand-me-down. This was the first, with the proceeds from that totally screwed up job that I was rewarded for improperly, I bought my first laptop. I learned some digital filmmaking on that laptop, and that led directly to getting the Mythbusters job. Aussie Maker 39 says, looking very much forward to meeting you in Brisbane later this year. My question, while I know good quality tools cost more money, I've found myself buying a cheap tool just to get the job done over the line. If you had to skimp on the cost of a tool, which tool would that be and why? Look, I think cheap tools are awesome. My philosophy about purchasing tools is, if you don't know if a tool is useful to you, buy the cheapest version you can and learn if that tool can be useful to you. I did this with an air pop riveting gun because I learned that they made pneumatic pop rivet guns back in around '94, but in '94 they were $200, and I absolutely did not have a single tool in 1994 that cost $200. I couldn't afford that. But Harbor Freight made one for $25 or $30, and I bought that, used it until it broke, which took about a month. And in that month, I realized this tool is absolutely worth having, and I still have the pop riveter that I bought then. So I always advocate buying the cheapest tool up front. Once you know that tool can be useful to you, I then say, don't buy the best version of that tool, buy the best one you can afford. You don't have to go buy the Godhead, the one that's milled out of titanium or made to mil spec, if that's going to break the bank. When I say you can afford, like everyone's cost-benefit analysis of what a tool brings to their process in terms of efficiency and time, we all have different metrics for that. So I cast no aspersions for using cheap tools. And I have done some wonderful, refined work with tools that I found in situ in places. And I love those limitations, and I love working with those limitations. So, look, I mean, when you're talking skimping on the cost of a tool, like when you're starting out, there's no reason you should spend more than $1 on your hammer. Go to a garage sale, buy a hammer for $1. Go to a flea market. You can get your basic complement of tools probably for less than 10 buckets. 10 buckets? It's a different commerce. $10 at any flea market.
Thank you for watching that video. Are you as sick of the tosses to membership as I am? Good, because here's a brand new one that I recorded today, and it's nice and short. There are 3 tiers to Tested membership, and they all offer awesome stuff. Find out about it by clicking the join link below. We'll see you there.